Welcome to CH Productions. If you are new, then press the subscribe button. As you might know that this video is also based on the facts but about Dwayne Johnson, popularly known as The Rock. 10. He introduced the first XFL game. The Rock cut a pretty hilarious promo before the first game ever played in the XFL. WWE head honcho Vince McMahon's short-lived attempt to take on the NFL. 6 years ago, NFL suits decided Los Angeles shouldn't have a football team, The Rock told the rabid crowd. Well, The Rock and Los Angeles and the entire country for that matter are sick and tired NFL suits telling us what we want. Would it surprise you if I said The Rock's monologue ends with him telling the suits to stick something up their asses? The Xbox is everything The Rock is, says The Rock in this very charming piece of video game history. Cutting edge, powerful, exhilarating, and, like The Rock, it will be the most electrifying thing coming out this year. Sadly, the video does not end with Bill Gates getting the people's elbow. Johnson didn't really have to stretch very much as a thespian to play his father in an early episode of that 70s show, but he did hold his own against Red Foreman. I like to think of Kurtwood Smith as the thinking man's Vin Diesel. The Rock has been a tag team champion in the WWE many times, so it's not surprising that he makes a perfect partner for Martha Stewart in this surreal clip from her daytime show. The pair spend the beginning of the video going over what The Rock eats every day, and at one point The Rock says, "I usually have 1 or 2 steaks a day," which both makes sense and is a little terrifying. It's quite strange for some people, but it's true that The Rock eats 7 meals in a day. In the time it takes you to finish reading this article, The Rock will probably eat one of his many daily meals. It probably had cod in it. Do you know, he lost his virginity when he was 14 to an 18-year-old. In his New York Times best-selling memoir, The Rock says, Johnson described his first sexual encounters in surprisingly candid detail. "I've always been attracted to older women, and they've often reciprocated," he writes in the book. "That's one of the benefits of being an early bloomer, I guess. I lost my virginity to an 18-year-old girl named Maria. Maria was not merely an acquaintance or a conquest. She was, at the time, the love of my life. She was the one." The full story from the book involves a public park and a cop. Really, you should probably just read it yourself. Sometimes it feels like The Rock is speaking his own language, but one of his favorite words, jabroni, actually comes from another wrestling legend. The Iron Sheik was famous for saying the word constantly backstage, Johnson told Esquire last year. Jabroni, jabroni, jabroni. Around 1998, I thought, why can't I say it on TV? So I started saying it publicly, but the Iron Sheik was known for it. In high school, his classmates thought he was an undercover cop. Not surprisingly, The Rock didn't exactly look like your average pimply teenager. With his imposing physique and creepy mustache, he made his classmates think he was a narc. After a successful college career as a football player and a short stint in the Canadian Football League in 1995, Johnson made his wrestling debut with this really uncool nickname. It's hard to picture the name Flex Kavana on a giant Fast and Furious poster. After briefly appearing as the Scorpion King in 2001's The Mummy Returns, The Rock got his own spin-off movie and landed in the Guinness Book of World Records for his $5.5 million price tag, the highest payday for a first-time leading man. But what's cooler than having one world record? Having two. So, The Rock secured his place in history by setting a new record for the most selfies taken in 3 minutes at the London premiere of San Andreas. What important record will The Rock break next? Most cod eaten in a day, probably. With that, it's goodbye, take care until next one. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, then hit the like button and do check other videos as well.